For those of you who don't know me, this is me. I am a Platinum QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor. I'm an enrolled agent, and for people who don't know what an enrolled agent is, it means that I'm federally licensed by the government to do taxes. I went with the federal license versus the CPA license because I didn't want to have to get licensed in every state that I wanted to practice in. And all of my continuing education is really tax focused, which is where I want to focus my time. I am the owner of Bastion Business Tax Services, that is branded from Borshoff Consulting, and Angie is doing a phenomenal job with helping me get up to speed with the rebrand. I do have over 30 years of accounting and tax experience. In another lifetime, I worked for 5 years at a CPA firm, and my husband came to me and said, we have 2 small children who need to get a 9-to-5 job. And then when I started my firm, of course, I went back to that lifestyle of you work when you have to because it's very deadline driven. So this is my alter ego, and I actually just ordered a 6-foot cutout of this. So when I go to like trade shows or business shows and stuff, I always wanted to be a superhero, and so I asked ChatGPT to make me a superhero, and this is what they made me, and I just love it. It's got the subsection on my breastplate, and pick up now on the cutout. I won't have the QuickBooks and the other stuff, but yeah, but it goes along with the new branding too, because the Bastion is a stronghold. It's a fortress, and I am the knight that is in that fortress to help y'all get through. Now, the agenda, some of these slides require me to go out to the internet so you can see the sample company. So we won't have those because we don't have internet today, but we can talk about all of this stuff. And so what QuickBooks is about record keeping. And so when I was trying to think what kind of a handout to do, I think the handout dovetails into that, because as a tax professional, and what I do with my clients is I'm all about the audit trail. If we're going to put it on your tax return, we want to be able to defend it. And so it's a handout about, well, the first handout is all about what you need to keep, why you need to keep it, how you need to keep it, and how long you need to keep it. That's the good part. The how long is, if you go out to the IRS.gov, the first thing it says is 3 years. And I'm like, but they can audit you up to 7 years. And they have 10 years to assess a tax. So really keep it 7 to 10 years, a minimum of 7 years. But we can get further into that. I'm not sure I'll get through all these slides. So the introduction to QuickBooks is just basically QuickBooks is like the Kleenex of accounting software. It's a brand name. There are better accounting softwares out there, believe me. But there are free accounting softwares out there. There are Zoho Books and FreshBooks, but when I've looked into those, they don't really do proper financial statements. And as an accountant, what I want to do for clients is a proper financial statement, which includes a balance sheet and an income statement, so that you have both of those pieces together to come up with what's your company worth, what's your equity in your company, and the whole picture. So this go into the benefits of QuickBooks Online, identify which QuickBooks is best for you, and that's the second handout. This is my wholesale pricing, and it's got a list of each, the check marks next to, it's what QuickBooks does. And you can see it goes from $35 a month up to $200 a month, and it's just depending on what level of information that you want to accrue and keep. And a lot of my clients are real estate investors, which is very property centric, for example, so that most of my clients fall into the plus category, because that's the category that starts to help you break things out into subcategories. So it's a cloud-based software, which means that you automatically get the updates. You don't have to worry about updating it automatically. does backups for you, but there are ways for you to download your data. And I do recommend that for clients very much, especially, but once a year, if you're a client of mine, I'll download your whole general ledger, because that is going to be the first thing they're going to ask for if they were to decide to examine you. This is just a reiteration of the handout that I've given you. It goes through all the features of the different types of QuickBooks flavors, and navigating QuickBooks Online it's pretty, in my mind, it's pretty simple. To somebody who's just doing bookkeeping, we do training sessions with clients or with people who want to, we charge $75 an hour basically to do training sessions. And then if you have questions along the way, you can always email us and we'll tell you where to put something, or we'll tell you how to do something.
Are those one-on-one training sessions for $75 an hour?
Yes, it's one-on-one training session. So you actually get to sit down with myself or my daughter, who is really my head bookkeeper. She manages the bookkeeping staff, and she's in it every day. So she even knows more than I do about some of the intricacies of things. Because QuickBooks can do a lot of things for you. You can keep all your invoicing through QuickBooks. It's more than just debits and credits. Not if you have Simple Start, but Essentials up. It's about creating the buckets of where you want to put things, how you want to see your reporting come back so that you can make good decisions about your business. And navigate QuickBooks on. This is one of those situations where I was going to go out to the sample company. So once you get QuickBooks, you sign up for your account. One of the things that I do want to tell you is that you can download the mobile app, which has some additional features in it that QuickBooks offers. And this is from Simple Start on up. But they have a great product within the mobile app called Snap Receipt. And I will caveat it with, you have to take a clear picture of that invoice, but it goes right to your QuickBooks account. And then the receipt area reads the receipt. And if you have a transaction that comes through your bank account that matches that vendor, that receipt, it will try to match that for you. It doesn't always do a great job, so you actually have to look and make sure that's the receipt that you want to attach to that transaction. But that is one of the great features, I think, that helps with the audit trail.
Yeah, it's really easy. I've used that.
It's really, now recently I have had to pull invoices out for a client who got an audit letter from the state. And so I had to pull all of her invoices for her largest categories, and it doesn't make it easy you can download them all, but it's time consuming to do it, but at least they're there. And one of the things that I preach, and I say preach, is digitize all of your receipts, because I've gone into audits with clients that had some receipts either fade, get destroyed. He had a basement flood. It's hard to tie back all of those receipts to what we put on his Schedule C when we don't have them all. There are provisions that they make. There's a rule called the Cohen rule that you don't necessarily have to have all the receipts if you can prove that it's fair and a reasonable amount for the industry that you're in. So I'm getting ahead of myself, and I told people early on that I made all these slides, and I'm probably not even going to go by the slides. But this is the login screen that you will get. Usually you can use a user ID, but I think it's easiest to use whatever email address that you sign up with QuickBooks for, and then it has you set a password that only you know. Even if I'm your accountant, I don't know your password. I can see all your data, but I don't know what your password is. So it gives you a way to go back out, and I forgot my password. It'll send you a make sure this is you notification, and you can reset your password. And then it takes you through, and usually I do this when clients sign up through my firm for the wholesale package. I help you with all of this because this is part of building your chart of accounts. It wants to know what industry you're in. And Angie and I set up her company recently, and we found out that it doesn't necessarily set up all the accounts that you're going to need. But this is its attempt at wizarding, helping you set up your chart of accounts and getting all of those accounts so that you can start keeping things in your general ledger. So this is the setup wizard, and it has online navigation. Like your home page is like these little buttons that says, what do you want to do today? Oh, I want to do my bank transactions. So one of the disconnects that happen often with new entrepreneurs, new clients is the we hook up your banks and your credit cards that you're using for your business, but the bank transactions just come into this repository and they just sit there until you go and say, I want it in this bucket, I want it in this bucket, yes, that's right. So until you go and go through those transactions and tell it where you want it to go on your reporting, they just sit there. You're actually telling it where to go on the general ledger when you go through that reporting, through that transaction list and say, okay, this goes to rent, this goes to insurance, this goes to marketing. And Intuit is a good name for QuickBooks because it tries to remember that if you go to Lowe's all the time and that's supplies, every time it sees Lowe's now, it's going to put it in the supplies bucket. But you can buy, you and I both know, you can buy a lot of stuff at Lowe's, so it might not always be supplies. But at least it tries to remember what the last few transactions were and it drops it in that bucket. But the big take home that I want to push forward here is that you actually do have to go through your transactions and accept them and tell them where to go, and that's how we build your reports. So it's going through here. Different levels of QuickBooks you'll see on the chart has different user amount of users. So billable users, if you're using the Simple Start, for example, you get one user, and you don't get a lot of control over your general ledger or your chart of accounts. But if you're just doing money in and money out, it's sufficient. Where you need to upgrade to the next levels are you want to send invoices, you want to keep track of your accounts payable, you want to keep track of what bills you owe when, and stuff like that. So it talks about usage limits and how to set up your company for, do you want in sales? I'm a consultant, I'm a tax consultant. And so my invoices, they're generally due upon receipt, but I've set up to where now I charge a late fee if it's out over 30 days. If somebody hasn't paid me in 30 days, I figure they maybe owe me 1% for the time that I've had to wait for them to pay me. So you can set all of that up in this company area. And again, these are things that if it confuses you, that's what my firm is there to help you get through. This is talking about how to manage your users. If you're on Simple Start, you only have one user that you can set up in here, and generally that's going to be you. But if you're on Essentials or Plus, you have 3 to 5. Essentials has 3 users that you can set up here. So that would be you, maybe an outside bookkeeper that you've hired, or if you hire us, we don't even count as a user because we're the accountant. So the accountant gets to see it all anyway. So it's good to talk through with yourself or with your tax professional about what is it you're going to need, and if you're only going to need one user and you're just money in and money out, Simple Start. If you're going to have to keep track of different properties and you want a running P&L, profit and loss statement per property, then you're going to need the Plus package because that's where classification accounting comes in. I always called it department accounting, but they call it classification accounting. And this is like going over the chart of accounts and the sales center. I like these graphs because I get to see how money is flowing. It's got a cash flow chart here. for me so I can see what months I'm gonna have the best cash flow versus the months that I'm probably gonna have to draw from savings, which I hate to do. But these charts do mean something, and I would suggest if you are a QuickBooks user, utilize the chart on a regular basis to watch what your trends are. It helps tremendously with planning. The expense center is where you pay your bills from. You can actually write checks. I was going to show you how to write a check in a sample company, but that's not going to happen today. But just know, you can order check stock, and you don't have to have a micro printer because the check stock can come with your account number and routing number on it, just if you ordered it from the bank. And it's an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and choose whether you want the check to be written on the top or the bottom of the piece of paper. So there are a lot of options in there, but I've had good luck with, I write maybe 2 checks a month. And most of my bills get paid automatically through online banking, which I love that. But QuickBooks has introduced a QuickBooks checking account here too recently. My one point of contention with QuickBooks is they want to be all things to all. They want to do it all for you. They want to be a one-stop shop, which may or may not be a good decision. I'm an accountant, and I do not like their payroll product at all. When I encounter clients who need payroll, I outsource through Sure Payroll, which is the accountant's version of Paychecks, because they put too much responsibility on that tax professional or that client to make sure the taxes are paid and their reporting isn't great. I guess I'm supposed to be selling it. I'm just saying it doesn't need to be all things to you because there are other options. And like the Sure Payroll, the Paychecks product has an export that exports to your general ledger in QuickBooks. So you don't need to use QuickBooks Payroll. And I would look carefully at the cost of using their credit card processing because I think it's expensive. Not as expensive as Square, but it's up there. But it does have a lot of great features. Like you can set up company templates. If you have a reoccurring invoicing that you do, you can set up a monthly reoccurring invoice for clients who maybe I'm more and more getting to where I'm setting up client service packages and they're on a monthly retainer amount, which means we've taken what they're going to spend on they're going to need to spend on their accounting and planning and consulting for the year, and we divide that by 12. So I set up recurring invoices to account for that money that's coming in from my credit card processor. So that's what the company templates, and you can set up accounts manually in both vendors and in customers, and you can set up accounts manually in your chart of accounts as well, which we found out when we were doing Angie's, showing her how to use her accounting. I don't know why they don't have insurance in here. That's insane. But so they have menus. Wish I could go out to the internet and show you the sample company because their menus are really intelligently driven. They have menus that kind of tell you if you need to get to your lists of your classifications of different properties, if you need to set up a new property, or you need to set up a new division or a new client, this is where you go. So it's really helpful in that. And the products and services, it's really helpful to set those up, especially if you are working more on a fixed price service scale rather than an hour by hour service scale. We do both still, but I'm getting more to where on a fixed price because I'm like, okay, so this client's gonna need 10 hours of bookkeeping this month, so this is what it's gonna be for the year, and I'm dividing that by 12, so I'm not using the products and demos, products and services that much, but it does help, and especially if you have something that's inventory driven. So it can help keep your inventory as well. So if you're a chiropractor, for example, and you sell supplements, but you have to keep the inventory of those supplements. That helps with setting those up and telling it it's an inventory item so it can keep like par level counts and stuff like that for you. And it's something that has to go on your balance sheet and your income statement for tax time. How much inventory do you have left? How much did you spend on it? And then the customers and sales transactions, of course, this is an area that a lot of consultants, coaches, and people like myself for service-based businesses, so we use the customers and sales transactions. I have a contract with somebody and it's going to be X number of dollars for the whole tax resolution, for example. So I put in all the elements of what they need, and I'm coming more around to, even to make it palatable for people, I'm coming around to, I'll charge you like 12 monthly payments or 24 monthly payments. I'm not really that willing to go out more than 2 years with those anymore because I've been kind of let down by those. Because people, once the tax problem is solved, they think they can stop paying. I guess I could look here. This is another like service that we help you with in setting up your QuickBooks. Is what products do you need to set up? What services do you need to set up? What are your base prices for that? And that doesn't mean that you can't change that base price when you go to invoice it. Sometimes you end up doing a little more than the average and you want to increase that amount, you can increase that amount on the invoice itself. But I really like the way they set up the sales center, the graphs and the charts and the who still owes me money. And I've even been recently able to set up the reoccurring reminders, like every 10 days, if you owe me money, I'm going to be sending you an email saying, when are you going to pay me? So those things are really helpful, and they really drive the cash flow of the business, because a lot of people, I won't say that they don't care, but they forget. And so if they're getting constant reminder, they're not as likely to forget. And so I really like some of those features. You can also do quotes or estimates for this is what the project's going to cost, and then once you get the engagement signed or the contract signed, then that can go into either a straight out invoice or a progress invoice. So it's really built again intuitively about what you're going to need, and it does make it easy.
Can I ask?
Oh, no. Yeah, you can ask questions now. It wouldn't be an hour session to go through. This is how you use QuickBooks, because it's a learning experience and it's a learning curve, and everybody has different aptitude for how they're going to learn.
Yeah.
But it is, for what it is, it's a great product for small business. And I haven't met anybody in small business who doesn't know what QuickBooks is.
Yeah.
If I could find a different product that was as easy to and intuitive to use and was as economical as QuickBooks is, I would sell it. But QuickBooks is it right now.
Yeah.
So questions? You had a question, Jerry?
Yeah, I probably missed it. So the last slide, you were talking about working with customers and creating invoices and then the list of working customers. I couldn't tell, was that like does that cover different levels, or was that a specific? I feel like
Every one of them creates invoices for you.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't know if.
Every level creates invoices for you.
Okay.
I'm just saying that Simple Start is the straightforward. You're primarily money in, money out.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't keep accounts receivable and accounts payable, but I'm not sure that it gives you all of the reporting capabilities that the other levels do. The other levels, the Essentials is just really one step up from what Simple Start does, and the little check boxes.
That's why I was trying to line, I think it was maybe the slide before that where you had the list. I was trying to see if I saw where all those fell within the list here. But
yeah, the little checks, but the advanced does it all. But most of my clients will fall into either Essentials or Plus, and those two seem to do really well with. You do get with QuickBooks, no matter what version you're on, if you download the app, you do get the snap receipt, which will help with the audit trail and keeping all those receipts in a digitized format. And you do get the mileage tracker, which is, I think they bought Mile IQ and built on it. It handles maybe 1 or 2 cars though. I've had to go with a different mileage tracker because my husband has like, I don't even know how many cars he has, but he has at least 4 in the driveway. So, because you have to keep track of your mileage by vehicle and how many miles you drove and what the business purpose of the miles were. You should be keeping business and personal miles as well as charitable and medical miles, because charitable and medical miles also get,
Like your personal medical, like when was it not?
when you go to and from the doctor, that's 14 cents a mile.
See, I didn't
So-
tell me that. For all this time. I know. But I track all of it. Yeah, I actually.
I suggest
I
you
have to
track
pay
everything.
for it.
Every mile you drive is either
Every
going
car
to
has a log.
be for your business,
Yeah.
personal. Does that mean when I'm coming back from a business meeting that I don't go by Kroger or CVS, which is personal? But it's still, it doesn't change the miles to, like from here to back to my house or my office. You cannot count commuting from your house to your office as business miles. That's personal, that's commuting. But the mileage log is another soapbox topic that I get onto about. You really need to be keeping track of all of those miles, and you need the mileage log. I like digital because digital doesn't get destroyed, digital doesn't fade. And the app makes it easy to keep it all in one place, and then you just print that out and send it to your accountant so we can add it to your books at tax time. Or some clients like to add it to their books monthly. But we keep track of not only what it costs to operate your vehicle, we also keep track of the miles, and usually the miles is the better deduction. You've got a choice, and in any year you've got a choice of which one you want to take, but miles at 67 cents a mile, what they're giving for business mileage, it's hard to beat that. Let's see, am I going forward or am I going backward?
You're going backward. Now you're going forward. Now you're going forward.
So this is how you get a hold of me, or I can give you a card that says Borshoff Consulting on it because I don't have these new cards yet. But it's the same people, the same service, the same contact information. And if you decide that you don't want to do your own bookkeeping, we're always happy to talk to you about that client services package. I'm always happy to talk to you, whether you hire me or not. If you have a question, just ask it. I'll give you my opinion. Any other questions?
I have a question about, you have clients who run consulting businesses, I assume. So, like most of my clients, they're fine with just getting a monthly hours bill and they know what I'm doing for them. Other clients want these like detailed statements of what did you do for those hours? And I'm just wondering, almost like how an attorney would track. And as an attorney, I track my own, but I don't necessarily give that to clients. It's really just for me.
For you.
I'm just wondering what you see from other consultants in terms of how they bill and how much detail they give. Because I don't want to, what's coming up is, I don't want to get into this discussion of, okay, are you no longer valuing what we're doing? Are you not seeing the value? That's where I feel like it's
See, and
going.
actually, a lot of consultants to go to programs like I'm building, which is the client services package.
Yeah,
Especially
like a monthly fee.
if it's going to be, I'm doing the same things for you,
Right.
month over month
Right.
or year over year. Here's all you're going to need, and then you don't have to really worry if you're going to have to call me and have a 30-minute conversation, because that's already built into your client service package. So you're not going to get a bill from me like a lot of other attorneys or CPAs are going to do. I talked to you for 30 minutes and I got a $700 bill. I want to eliminate that fear of how much is it going to cost me.
at the end of the month.
But QuickBooks does import all of the time into the invoice if you want it to.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think it comes down to what is your client asking for? Because I have had, and probably will have clients who what are all the hours you worked for me? I want to see every transaction.
I have,
you or your
I have
staff
some that
did.
are like that, yeah.
Frustrating, so I'm like,
Can you not see what we're doing for you?
Yeah.
I've been with my client for 5 years, I don't understand where this is coming from.
Exactly.
do we should have a deeper
Conversation is really what I'm trying to get at with them. There's
Yeah.
something I'm
happy about?
Yeah. So-
Yeah, and sometimes you just have to bring those clients along to the, you really want to get into the minutia of how many hours we spent each day on what we're doing for
Yeah.
you.
Quarter of
An
an hour.
on this little task.
Yeah.
You're saying it's not even just about the time, they're wanting to know what is it you're
What
doing.
is
Yeah,
it?
exactly. Yeah.
So are you trying to find out if there's a place within there to document, okay, this hour? or this
No, there is.
hour?
There is timekeeping built into
I think
almost every version. Maybe
Yeah.
not Simple Start, but all the other versions have timekeeping built into them.
I think I was more curious of what do you see
When
consumers
motivation.
doing? Like, is that
Normal.
normal within the asset amount of detail? Like,
I see a lot of my consultants go into the. this
Yeah,
is
monthly
monthly contract.
Yeah, that's what we do.
This is
Yeah.
what our
Yeah.
monthly services.
Because we estimate, okay, you want this type of services, this is what's included. and
Yeah.
If it looks like we're consistently exceeding hours, then we have a conversation. Some months it's more, some months it's less. That's the ebb and flow of that. We're okay with
That's
that.
how you have to build that
Yeah.
into your client
We do,
services
yeah.
package is what's the average of what I spend on bookkeeping? Because I have to pay my bookkeepers, so of course I want to not underestimate the number of hours that they're going to spend each month on this client. And for us, it all comes down to transactions. But we do have those clients that they're bookkeeping clients and they want to see every half hour what the bookkeeper did.
Yeah, yeah.
And my humble opinion is that's ridiculous, but.
That's where you have the micromanagers, they
What do you
wanna.
think?
Yeah.
Don't you think that's more about old school, Sherri?
It
Don't
is,
you think
it
it's old
is.
school?
It is mostly the older clients, the older business owners.
Yeah.
I've got older business owners that don't want to use the client portal
Yeah.
because that's the way to digitally share everything with
Yes.
us.
And have it not go through.
You don't have to run to my office every time you got something that came from the IRS or the Indiana Department of Revenue, or every time that you have a document that you want to share with me. But I have older clients who just, they don't even make an appointment, they just show up at my office. When you get into business this is my 18th year as a private firm owner, and you just have those different personalities, and I think you have to cater to what that different personality wants. And if they're on like a service package or a contract where you've broken that down into monthly payments, and they're asking about what are you doing for this money, then you have to schedule a meeting with them and say, and you can pull up your timekeeping and you can say, this is everything that we've done.
We send it. I was just thinking, I'm spending all this extra time creating this extra report, this particular client, and it just was frustrating to me. And I tried to have the conversation about, well, maybe they're not valuing what I'm doing, maybe they're not, maybe we need to have a different kind of conversation. But I think to your point, that's just how they want to see it. They are accustomed to seeing it and they want to see the detail and
They're like more into.
They want more
minutia.
information.
yeah.
So I was just curious what
What do you see
Yeah.
out there? So it sounds like you see both of those.
I see both of
Yeah.
those, definitely. We talk about, in finance, and we talk about the 80-20 rule a lot. And I was in a Kingdom Factor meeting not too long ago, and that came up again, and it's 80% of your clients are gonna give you 20% of your issues or something like that. So they're always gonna be.
Right. 20% of your clients. give
20% of
80%
your clients are getting 80% of your issues. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did get that backwards. But yeah, I think it just comes down to respecting what that client wants, and if you're wondering if they're valuing the services, I'm not opposed to asking them.
Yeah, we had the
You know,
conversation.
are you questioning the value of the services then? And why
Are you not getting what you want? Is there something more
You want us to
from
do
us?
something
Yeah,
else,
yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah.
So,
I had a client recently, because I'm HR on call for a couple clients still. And so they're guaranteed X number of hours from me every month or every quarter, depending on how they sign up for it. And I basically set the standard from the beginning. I'm keeping track of the hours, but you need to keep track of it as well. And so then I don't give them a detailed report. I just say, the 4 hours you spent this month, you called me twice for 2 hours. cha-ching, because then I charge them an hourly fee if they go over the 4 hours a month. So I just give them a very high level, what they did for the month. But I recently had one of them, they did quarterly hours instead of monthly. And they asked me if they could roll over hours into the next quarter, and I told them no. From a finance standpoint, I'm like, no.
You're always,
Space for that client.
That's what I
Like,
said.
you can only,
take some
yeah, because then they were like,
We think we're gonna have a lot of work in September, and we don't wanna have to pay you for the extra hours. And I'm like,
I said, then
if you would like to me to quote you a special project amount, or a one-time project, we can do that. But yeah, so I just give them a very high level, hey, I bill them quarterly, so I give them quarterly, when I send them their invoice for the
They get
next
a
quarter,
report with that.
I just say, over this last quarter, this is how many hours I spent in consultation with you or a member of their team, because a member of their team can also, they get an authorization to call me. This is how many hours I spent advising, and this is how many hours I spent like reviewing your handbook or your policies or creating whatever. And I just give them I don't get into the weeds, and it spent this many hours looking at your 69-page handbook.
If you want to print out, you can print it out from QuickBooks Time, but I would rather not.
But I don't track my hours that way either.
Oh,
They
no.
buy 15 minutes.
I'm used to tracking their hours that way, just because that's how I've been doing it forever. But going more to these models where, and I do have it in my engagement letter, that if we go outside the scope of the items that are in your client services package, that's going to be quoted separately. And I get some feedback on that when somebody's like reading through the engagement. What does that mean? I'm like, it means exactly what it says. But if you ask me to do a project or we do something that isn't already included in your client services package, we're going to bill you separately, which I think is fair, because when you go to a package like that, especially with the medical community, doctors are the most brilliant people. They are the most intelligent and talented people on the planet. Thank God for them, but they do not know business.
I live with great.
They are really business illiterate. So there have been times when some of my doctor clients are like, can you pull this stuff for me because I need to talk to Medicare or Medicaid? And I'm like, it's gonna cost you extra. It's outside the scope. Yeah, it's not, it's outside the scope, but yeah, we'll do it. We have the records because we're keeping your bookkeeping, and so we have your records, but it'll cost you extra. So it's not like 14 minutes.
Yep, you got another 10 minutes. Anybody has accounting questions?
Such a challenges.
Just getting started again.
Your business getting started.
Yeah, I did it years ago.
Sometimes the journey, the Wizard of Oz is a quote, like, as every journey starts with the first step. And having a trusted, I've always figured, if you can't trust your accountant with your information, who else can you trust? I mean, you should be able to trust your accountant or your lawyer with your personal information. And I'm very big on security. Of course, the IRS makes me be very big on security. I have to sign a disclaimer now, or an oath now. Every year when I renew my professional identification number with them, that's the number that allows me to file your tax return for you. I have to say, yes, I have what's called a WISP, which is basically written information security package. And I had to hire an IT guy to write that for me, and they can ask me for it too at any time if they assume that I'm not really secure. So security is a big thing in that. And my husband's a health insurance agent, so we have that double. He's got HIPAA, and I've got personal security. So when you think about it, we have people's entire life, their medical and their financial life, in our databases, and so we are very security conscious. Firewalls, encryption, all that stuff. And I implemented the portal, the secure portal, for that very reason too, is because that's a direct conduit from your computer to my server, and it's more secure than sending all your stuff through email. Even if the email's encrypted, there are people out there who are spending time on encrypting it, so we don't trust email. Email's great for just asking a question, but don't send me anything with your social security or your bank account information through email.
Thank you for all this. I'm sure my accountant will really appreciate if I get off Excel spreadsheets, because that's how they get.
That's how they get your
That's how my
information. It's better than
accountant-
nothing, but.
That's how our accountant gets it for all three of our business.
Yeah, I would say,
Like
I have clients who still are committed to their Excel spreadsheets too, because they don't
Yes.
like or don't trust QuickBooks for whatever reason. Again, I think they're like the more seasoned business owners, and they've just been used to doing their spreadsheets.
Do I have to have three different, so if I have three between the two of them, like I have my own LLC, my husband has his, then we own property that's under an LLC.
If you
Do you have to have three QuickBook accounts?
If you do the Plus package, I have a way around that.
Okay.
So
That's what I
you
don't
can
want
set
to
a classification for each different company.
do. Okay.
But there is like a discount for additional companies as well, which QuickBooks pushes a lot because you get the core one and then you get the other two. But I personally, as a tax professional and as an accountant, I like it to all be in one place. Because if I'm doing tax planning for you, I want to know what all of your income is in that one place.
Which is why I do 3 tabs on my Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So I only give up my Excel spreadsheet.
Does it have-
Tabs, one for
But
each.
the thing that I would advise is QuickBooks will save you time. If you're keeping 3 spreadsheets, that's a lot of data entry and it doesn't connect to your bank accounts and you're probably not reconciling it to your bank accounts. So you may even find that you missed something. Because reconciling monthly is the exercise in making sure that you've got all your transactions in there. But happy to talk to you more about it if you want.